Realizing the full potential of the blue economy will require the collaboration and participation of all stakeholders, both public and private. Solutions cannot be singular, but must comprise multi-sectoral action that cuts across international, national, regional, and local levels, whilst engaging society to ensure that no one is left behind. The Mediterranean region offers an immense wealth of opportunities. According to the Blue Economy Report of 2022, published this last May, the crisis in Ukraine has also affected the EU blue economy sectors in different ways, ranging from increasing in oil prices to trade restrictions and supply chain bottlenecks. Nevertheless, the blue economy also grows faster when the economy recovers, offering important investment opportunities. In this respect, the WestMED initiative offers a unique prospect to accelerate this development and streamline national efforts to embrace the sea as an integral part of climate solutions. It can help bring to the market innovative projects of blue science and technology that would provide solutions to urgent practical challenges of sustainability and also contribute to the ecosystem-based blue economy. Apart from the growth potential in the traditional sectors, which according to the most recent figures, which we have available are 2019, the established sectors of the blue economy directly employ close to 4.4 million people and generate about 667 billion euros in turnover and 183 billion in gross value added. We would do well, therefore, to look at new emerging sectors such as marine renewable energy, blue bioeconomy and biotechnology, ocean resources, breeding, and a more diversified aquaculture, research, blue tech innovation, and robotics. There is great potential for the creation of new blue jobs. One of the main challenges and problems to develop and grow the blue economy is the availability of adequate skills. Highly qualified and skilled professionals are a prerequisite for a competitive and resilient blue economy. The skills gap cannot be addressed by ocean literacy alone. We also need to invest in capacity building, skills and career development. This is where education and industry must collaborate. Ocean literacy is the first step in this direction, creating awareness and raising the attractiveness of blue careers among students and young professionals. We also need to harness the power of the digital revolution, including the transfer of appropriate technologies. We must ensure that solutions are flexible enough to cope with the fast pace of technological change, fostering the development of emerging user-centric technologies and business models. Such a process needs to be enhanced through the exchange of best practices and partnerships. In this respect, we look forward to continue building on the excellent work carried out so far by the WestMED initiative, to the development of concrete measures and mechanisms to help promote the blue economy vision and to boost worldwide competitiveness of the Mediterranean through an integrated approach that connects the challenges and opportunities of the region. In truth, we are here because we have the maritime sector at heart and believe that progress should and can be achieved in a sustainable manner through the genuine and realistic cooperation among us. Without further ado, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate our esteemed partners and colleagues from the WestMED National Hub of Malta and the Assistance Mechanism, particularly for organizing today's seminar and for bringing together such a wide cross-section of stakeholders. And I wish you all a fruitful discussion today. I now give the floor to my colleagues from the European Commission. Thank you.
Many thanks, Lucienne. Thanks to the Maltese authorities and to all of you for attending to this new hackathon after the pandemic and after this break that we had. And thanks also to the National Hub from Malta for organizing this, I hope, fruitful event. First of all, I would like to have some words because my director, Christos Economos, would like to be here. So on behalf of DG Mare, of Director General of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries, for sure he will be in the next events that the Maltese Co-presidency is going to organize in the upcoming months. We are going to have a kind of follow-up of the stakeholders conference that we achieved to have last November in Rome, gathering potential partners, gathering potential cooperators for projects, and after the good experience of the first edition of the awards, of the first competition of projects, I think that it's a good follow-up of this stage. From the European Commission, we normally talk about the policies, the policy advancement. So from the last events, not only from the last stakeholders conference, but also from the last hackathon that we had in more than 2 years ago, you know that we have, apart from the generic framework of the European Green Deal, it was issued a joint declaration for the new agenda, new communication of the new agenda for the Mediterranean with the External Action Service, and also in May 2021, the new communication, it is not new anymore, on the new approach, we can say, on the sustainable blue economy, expanding this European Green Deal to the blue and to the maritime sectors. But at the same time, we have the ministerial declaration of the Union for the Mediterranean, focusing as well in this sustainable approach. So we want to build on this new approach, decarbonization, sustainable food system, protection of the biodiversity and ecosystem-based approach, circularity, and also taking the problem of the marine pollution, especially in our Mediterranean. But at the same time, and this is very pertinent for this week, last week, the European Commission launched a new communication on the international ocean governance. And it's precisely last week because, as you know, we are celebrating in Lisbon the United Nations Ocean Conference to support the Sustainable Development Goal 14 and to prepare the COP27 on climate, but also the COP15 on biodiversity. But all this policy framework needs of the projects, needs of the tangible achievements, of the concrete results. They think that the best way to build Europe and the best way to build on these policies is precisely through the projects. We also need to think that the sea basin strategies, and this one, the WestMED initiative, is one of these European sea basin strategies, had no budget itself. So we need to develop funding opportunities, and this is precisely what we are doing today. If we go to the Maritime Data Hub, there's more than 160 projects and with more than 600 partners from the countries of the WestMED initiative that hasn't been already identified as concrete or tangible projects of collaboration. The assistance mechanism in these last years has supported more than 50 proposals worth 92 million euros. So it is some figures of the importance of the projects and of the importance of the support that the European Commission is providing through the assistance mechanism. You know that we are also preparing a revision or a report on the implementation of the initiative. There was a study that is going to feed a report that the European Commission needs to present to the European Parliament and the Council. And this point of the need of projects as specific and tangible results to achieve the policies is one of the conclusions for sure that will be reflected in this report. And if we talk about funding opportunities and projects, we need to refer the embedding process, which is to include the Sea Basin Strategy's priorities and the blue economy priorities and the sustainable blue economy priorities for sure in the programming exercise of the different funds, taking advantage of the momentum given that the period 21-27 is still on develop, of the preparation, we can say. Precisely today, we have another meeting with the Director General of Regional Policy on the preparation of this exercise on how to embed all the priorities of the sustainable blue economy in the program of the Interreg family, in the interregional programs for the Mediterranean, for sure the Interreg Med, but also the Interreg Next Med, and also at bilateral level. You know that there are also programs into two countries and not only EU countries, but also we are trying to embed these priorities not only at interregional but also at national level. There are programming exercise for national programming planning for EU countries in these cohesion policy funds, but also for non-EU countries in the neighborhood policy funds. So the inclusion of the blue, of the maritime aspects in the multi-annual planning of the funding for non-EU countries is also an exercise we are taking into account now. We need to recognize two other elements that are being building for EU countries, but with the willingness, and it's sure that there will be an expansion to the non-EU countries, which are also linked to funds. I'm talking about the thematic platform for smart specialization strategies, which is now building on for EU countries, but this will be for sure expanded. And also, as you know from the Horizon Europe program, the mission on oceans, restore oceans and seas, there will be for sure an expansion to the non-EU countries. If we talk about the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund, there's, you know that they had the first flagship project call, and there will be a new one. Our colleagues here, we have colleagues from CINEA, which is the executive agency in charge of this call, but it's for sure announced that there will be also a specific line in this call in 2022 covering the WestMED priorities and building on the technical groups that we are going to discuss today. And if we talk about other kind of fundings, we need to refer the event, the conference on blue financing that happened last week in Barcelona. It was financed by DG Mare and chaired by the UFM, the Union for the Mediterranean Co-presidency, in cooperation with the UFM secretariat. Alessandra will explain a bit more about this conference, which goal was to encourage investment and funding on sustainable blue economy with projects and initiatives in the Mediterranean. But it's quite important and happy to having brought more than 130 participants. So we rely on the assistance mechanism, on the fruitful advancement of these hackathons. We recall that the topics are coming from the bottom-up approach. It has been the stakeholders who have selected the topics of these projects, which are aligned with the topics of the priorities of the Maltese co-presidency. And it's important also build on projects for this kind of soft diplomacy experience. And I hope that it will be a fruitful event. Let me recall, lastly, that for the online participants, that there will be also the plenary session from 4 in the afternoon at 4 for the conclusions of these parallel discussions on thematic labs that they are going to have. So thank you so much, and I wish you a fruitful event. Many thanks.
Good morning to everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today, and many thanks really for the invitation to this important gathering and event. The UFM is indeed following constantly and regularly all the developments from the WestMED, which is indeed an important source of inspiration, I would say, being a privilege and advanced partnership, which is indeed enabling and supporting advancement for the region at large. I'd like actually to link and recall to some of the points that the previous speakers have been emphasizing, and in particular I will focus on the roadmap for the implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Sustainable Blue Economy that was indeed approved last year, and then indeed on the conference on blue finance that we had last week. As far as the roadmap is concerned, this has been a quite elaborated work that we have been starting and kicking off immediately after the adoption of the ministerial itself. It's an analytical work that even, let's say, inspired by the strong, let's say, collaborative efforts that we are doing at regional level, has been enabling us to identify indeed the needs and gaps that we want somehow to tackle in the future to come. It has been a long exercise, maybe longer than we expected, but I think very productive, even in terms of consultation among the countries. So with the idea that the 10 priorities that were identified by the declaration itself do stay as priority, we wanted in a certain way also, similarly to the WestMed, have a more operational approach. So we have been defining a sort of short-term, let's say, concrete actions. So after the approval of the roadmap, just last week at the working group, we had the final, let's say, approval of the way forward for the next, let's say, 6 to 9 months, where indeed the attention will be focused on small ports and diversification of marinas, let's say, beyond transport, innovation ecosystem for sustainable blue economy value chains. All these, of course, being a very intersectoral sort of access to work. MSP as enabler, and actually it's very good to be here even today and follow the various sessions, let's say, of the hackathons, that and the clusters, of course, together with others, and as a cross-cutting axis, the one on blue skills, careers, and job that is, let's say, an overall traditional axis that at the UFM we are following more, let's say, precisely within the overall, let's say, regional challenge related to employment. So this is for the way forward, but we will have a next, let's say, working group in Jordan in October, and as of then, we will also be starting to look at the mid-long-term priorities related to the actions, let's say, to be jointly agreed. As far as the conference of last week, that of course follows among the, let's say, 10 key areas that the 42 Euro-Mediterranean countries have agreed. And it's important actually to mention that the conference is just a part of a long-term process that indeed we plan to relaunch along the lines of what the colleague Manuel of DG Mare just said. The conference was structured around, let's say, two main axes, access to finance and matchmaking sessions. The access to finance was also, let's say, envisaging the presentation of key enabler that can be replicated at regional level. We had, of course, the very important cases shown and, let's say, successful cases of Portugal and Algeria in terms of strategy and fund. And in terms of matchmaking session, we have been able actually to organize quite a lot of meetings between countries, promoters, private investors, and indeed delegates. Unfortunately, not being able to satisfy the full request for this matchmaking. So we will follow up, of course, with the co-presidencies. This is part of a very joint and close work all together. And let's say facilitate the dialogue in the coming weeks. I'd like also to add that the session on access to finance was actually focusing on already existing opportunities. So what we see is actually a need to put these, let's say, opportunities in full motion and, let's say, upscale to the entire region. As far as the enablers are concerned, as I said, we mentioned indeed the blue funds, the national blue funds, the maritime strategies, the incubators, the accelerators, and the potential actually for this and for other, let's say, countries to join even existing, let's say, projects. So this is something that we are looking forward. And another important element of the conference of last week was the presence of national and local banks. These were actors that so far were not, let's say, fully involved into this dialogue around investments. It became clear that they are a key actors actually to be involved, and this is, let's say, the possible way forward for the next event and actions. There were also a couple of important, let's say, announcements from EIF, EBRD, and EIB, and these will be, let's say, disclosed as soon as possible. I would like just to conclude by referring to COP27. DG Mare just referred to it. The UFM has been promoting the setting up of a Mediterranean pavilion. And of course, sustainable blue economy is a key topic that will be tackled within, let's say, the side event. We say Mediterranean pavilion because it's not a UFM pavilion, it's a pavilion for all, where everybody, meaning those that have been contributing financially, but also those that haven't been able, for whatever reason, to contribute, will be welcome to take part to contribute, to participate. And we are just in the process, let's say, of defining, together with the key regional partners, the side events, but for sure there will be one on sustainable blue economy with all, let's say, the community involved. We strongly believe that the Mediterranean has been progressing on sustainable blue economy almost as no other region at international level. We believe that the Mediterranean is a champion actually at international level, and has been able actually to bring sustainable blue economy in very high in the international agenda. So that will be actually the opportunity to showcase all this. And the relation, let's say, to the issue mentioned about projects, again, projects are key and are the engine in a certain way of processes. So what we are doing through, this strong emphasis on collaboration and cooperation at regional level is to make sure that projects and processes do work as one. One cannot work without the other. So thank you very much, and I wish a great day and meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Here we are finally. It's a long shot from the first stakeholder event in December, I think, late 2018 in Alger. It's 4 years. We've been working and walking a long way, and it's good to see you all. All of us. We are really part of a broader community. Each of us is involved in many other things, and the idea is really to work together and cooperate and coordinate this work. And I think we're doing a good job, steered by the Commission. And we want to work towards sustainable blue economy in the Mediterranean, I must say. Okay, we know that we know that the sea doesn't stop right here after Malta, and there's a single sea. And when we talk about a sustainable economy, economy is a market, right? So we wanna have policy, we wanna have framework, we wanna have business that they do their job in creating value, and we wanna have investment. And I'm stressing that because it's really becoming important at this stage. Private investment, individual venture capitalists, they are all really looking more and more, thanks also for the push of the European Union at large, in this area. So I remember that when we start a very early discussion on the blue economy with investors, they say, blue what? And now they're really keen on looking at business. And aquaculture, tourism, transport, ports, these are really maybe the key area where investors understand You know, there's much more we know than that in the blue economy, but these are really key areas where investors wanna look at. And I think the problem now, or the challenge, or the opportunity now, is really try to scale up this sector so that the company business operators, I mean, any sort of, are really able to engage with investors, with private investors, to show their potential and to get the money they want, deserve to innovate. So innovation is key, but then we also know that the market doesn't function on its own. You need what Alessandra Sensi was referring to, enablers. You need, certainly the clusters are good enablers. There's a bigger family of accelerator, incubator. Skills are an essential element for the market to function. And all of these kind of ecosystem require support to scale up and grow. And this is the type of project that we talk about. And I'm saying that because I think now that time are mature to also understand that some of the people in the community, namely more investors, bank, they talk about project and they refer to, what is a strange term, I don't know how translator could do that, but bankable project, meaning that where me as an investor I can put money in a company or something and get money in return. And also I improve, I create local job, I create sustainable development, and I do no harm for the environment. But that's easier to say than to do. And when we talk about project, the type of project we will discuss today, and we tend to discuss, is grants. Okay, so it's public money that is put in the system to really scale up the capacity of operators to engage finally with broader set of banks, venture capitalists to do so. So that's what we try to do with our, with a little work on the hackathon. Is a bigger range of things that we do. We create technical group also. Some of the hackathon today, I think we have time to discuss what we do in the hackathon later on, but I think I just wanted to set this scene because we know that we are part of a process that is actually part of a bigger ambition, collective ambition, and we're basically also helping investors to understand where they can put their money to get a better return. And obviously also there is MSP, which is the enabler of any sort of action. I mean, there's an increasing interest in renewable energy for a series of also geopolitical reasons I touch upon. Co-presidency, and obviously spatial planning is an essential tool for that. So we will discuss all of this today. We've been working on this project support more broadly across the year. We've actually the first hackathon, so to say. We almost adapt the concept of hackathon that I'm not making a whole history, but as you might know, start really from ICT and hacker marathons, where sounds very chaotic and technical, and we try to make it more human and small scale, and we bring together people to discuss project idea together. That's what we will do. And we started in Alger, which was a great start, was very dynamic and maybe also lively. We did it later on in Palermo. And now, after we all survived the stress of the COVID and working in a silos at home with everybody after the screen, now we can hug each other and shake hands again. So the idea is today to have smaller group. I will discuss that later on, the content and the topic of this. But really, the idea is also to let operators and actors in the blue economy to really share what they think is good ideas, and we try to help them to move forwards. Which, I mean, in a nutshell, maybe the mandate or one of the mandate of our initiative and technical assistance. Maybe I can stop it here. I mean, the idea really is that now we will show you other things that we do very importantly in the WestMED assistance mechanism to assisting the strategic initiative, or the WestMED strategy, as we say now, namely really engaging at the national, local level to understand what are the priority, what are the idea, and really, I think what we do now by presenting these, the outcome of our campaign was a foundation to have the discussion of project support today. So try to develop a plot through this. I think I will leave the floor to my colleague, Javier Fernandez, if I'm not mistaken. But excuse me, I can get back a little later to explain with our colleagues what really we want to do in each topic discussion and what are the main approach that we propose for a methodological approach that we propose for the hackathons. So thanks a lot. I'm very happy to be here in Malta.